Right guys, I'm Archimate from the Gamer Zone, and today we're going to be having a look at Hearthstone, more specifically my Murloc deck. Now the Murloc deck is obviously made up of mostly Murlocs, and is designed to flood the board with low damage, low health Murlocs to overwhelm your opponent. Now the class that I use for this is actually the Warlock, so let's have a look. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put all the cards in, and then we will run through each card and their uses and benefits. Now as you can see, there's 19 of the 30 cards needed to make a deck. That's every Murloc available in the game, apart from the Hungry Crab, which destroys a Murloc to gain 2/2. Now this card is actually very good against other Murlocs, or if you have a Murloc Raider, on turn 2 you can attack with the Raider, then eat him, putting a 3/4 in its place. I don't personally use it, it's very niche, so we will be leaving it out of this current deck. Right, for the ones we have the Greenscale Oracle. Very self-explanatory. All Murlocs have one attack. This can be a target for classes that can deal 1 damage, such as the Mage, Druid, and the Rogue, and can make some of even your least threatening cards quite dangerous, or more dangerous, should say. Murloc Raider, 2 of them, pretty self-explanatory. It's a 2/1 for 1. Now the Murloc Tidecaller can be an interesting card. This is a card you really want to be getting out early, due to its effect that every time your Murloc is summoned, it gains 1 attack. If you can get this out first, and your opponent is playing a Murloc deck, then his Murlocs will also buff it up. Now the Bluegill Warrior, straightforward 2/1, but this one has charge. Bit of early pressure. You can trade into a 3/2 with it if necessary, to remove any early threats, such as if you're up against a priest and you get your Greenscale Oracle and your Bluegill Warrior down, you can kill off his 1/3 priest card, which can be quite annoying sometimes, but it can help you maintain early board control. Now the Murloc Tidehunter. Now this card is quite handy again to be played with the Murloc Tidecaller, because both of the Murlocs, including the one that summons from the battle cry, will buff it up, turning that into a 3/2 once that's played. Bullet Stomper is a new card added in the recent Goblin vs Gnomes expansion. This is a simple 3/2, but being a Murloc will benefit from all the buffs available from this deck. Now the Cold Light Oracle, fairly self-explanatory again. Each player draws 2 cards. This is quite helpful for yourself because it helps you get your cards into your hand quicker, and since every Murloc bar 1 costs 3 or less, this card this helps you fill your hand up and just helps you get more board presence, hopefully drawing into the cards you need to win the game. Cold Light Seer. Now this is a very important card. You have to sort of make a real decision as to when you want to play this. You ideally playing this with anything less than 3 Murlocs is not really worth it, because it gives them 2 health, giving them much more survivability, takes them out of range of things like Explosive Trap or Arcane Explosion if they have something like Cobalt Geomancer down, or even it can even save you from a Thunderstorm or Lightning Storm, the Shaman card, which deals 2/3. Now the Murloc War Leader. This card is just, it turns a mediocre set of Murlocs that are only 2 attack and 2 or 3 attack into quite scary creatures. Giving each Murloc 2 attack and 1 health. The 1 health can sometimes take them out of range of, again, things like Explosive Traps, and the 2 attack can make them quite scary, as I said. Now Old Murkeye is the legendary that is actually awarded once you collect one of every other Murloc. Not including the Hungry Crab. It's obviously not a Murloc, it's actually a beast. I didn't actually know about Old Murkeye when I was just buying decks for gold. and then one day I think I found a war leader, and just it turned out that I had collected one of every Murloc and won that. So I actively started to create the Murloc deck. This Murloc has charge, and he also gets one attack for each other Murloc on the battlefield. So if you have 3 Murlocs, you're also he is a 5/4. But if those 3 Murlocs consists of a Grimscale Oracle, he's a 6/4. If you have a Murloc War Leader, he's actually a 7/4. That can make it easily to trade into any big cards that the opponent may have gotten onto the field. So obviously you need 30 cards to make up the deck, so that doesn't quite make 30 cards. So the cards I use to make up the rest of the deck are a Corruption. Ooh, no, only one. Because this can help remove any dangerous cards, not necessarily high health or high damage cards, but cards that can be quite scary, such as a Light Spawn, for example, because you don't run any silence and there's very little taunt actually in this deck. Now I run 2 Power Overwhelmings. Gives a minion 4/4, but then kills it at the end of a turn. Again, if you're getting to the point where you want to hit him in the face hard to give him a wake up call, or you just need to trade into a scary card, throw this onto one of your little Murlocs. It'll kill him, but it'll probably turn your game around. Now, so far, this is 4 damage, but it throw away a random card. The downside is obviously losing the card, and since it's random, you could end up losing one of your powerful cards. The upside is, since all of the cards in the Murloc deck are so cheap, you will quite often be using this with no other cards, except for perhaps a second so far, which means you'll lose the other one. This can remove most cards in the 3 to 4 mana range, or even higher depending on the card, which can help you obviously remove any threats and giving you access to the opponent's face. Now what else do we want? We want a Blood Imp. This card is quite handy to play early because it gives a random minion 1 health, which will take them out of range of hero powers of classes that can hit a minion, such as again Mage, Rogue, and Druid. Yeah, we also have a Void Caller, early taunt. It adds a little bit of protection, not much, but something to just hide your minions behind while you gain up your early board presence. Now, I think it's the last of the Warlock cards. It is, yes. What we also use is two Leper Gnomes actually. I think they're an amazing little 1-drop. 2/1 with the deal 2 damage to the enemy hero upon death. And then I also use a point-sized summoner. Now this card is not an amazing card, but again, with the low cost of the minions after 3 or 4 mana, and you have this on the board, it becomes a target to be removed because it can allow you to flood the board much earlier. With something like playing a War Leader and a Collector on for 5 mana instead of the 6. Giving you a bit of making your board a bit scarier early on. Now for the last card, I have been using a Jeeves for the card draw, but I have found that combined with the Warlock hero power, it can cycle through your deck sometimes a little bit too quickly. So a new card I got last week is the Enhanced Mechanical, which is a card added in the recent Goblin vs. Gnomes expansion. This card gives the rest of your minions on your board either Wind Fury, Taunt, or Divine Shield. This is obviously at random, so it can be a little bit hit and miss. But if you have a board full of Murlocs and you're in real control of the game, throwing this down and getting Wind Fury on the right one can make a massive difference. Or even getting just Divine Shield can save your Murlocs from being killed off by things like Flame Strike or fireballs, depending on how late the game has gone. Now the taunt is fairly ineffective because Murlocs have quite low health, but it may save you a hit to the face if your opponent only happens to have one card out. So what other? Well, that's the full deck anyway with the cards that I'm using. Now, depending on what cards you have access to yourself, you might be able to make some changes to that. If you do have any changes or any suggestions of what cards you think I should be using, if I had them, as you can see, I have a lot of dust. If your suggestion holds merit, then I may actually look at including some cards in. And if you have any other comments, just throw them down below and we'll have a look at the deck. Now, the Warlock is not the only class that can do a Murloc deck. The Shaman is also a very viable class. Now I have a Shaman Murloc deck here. I don't think it's very good myself. It has obviously the 19 Murlocs in it. It uses things like Earth Shock and Rock Weather weapons. It has Bloodlust. If you can get to 5 mana and you've flooded the board, Bloodlust giving them 3 attack can all of a sudden make them reasonably scary. And then Fire Elemental, bit of threat. The Battle Cry is quite nice as well. But I maintain that if the game has gotten up to 6 mana and you haven't already won, you won't. Or it's highly unlikely that you will win. I've never done actually any real research into the Shaman Murloc deck. I'm sure there's a lot of improvements that I could make to it, but I prefer the Warlock one because the hero power and the certain cards that it gives, power overwhelming, or even Soulfire, I find are just fantastic cards for the Murloc deck. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave the video here, and we'll come back next time and we'll show you a few games of the Murloc on ladder and see how we get on. Now chances are I don't think we'll get too high with it. It's only a bit of fun. And if you like this video, guys, just add it to your favorites, throw down a comment down below, and subscribe to our channel where myself, Luke and Age, or Herbie Hoodie provide different games. And we shall see you in the next video. So thanks.